Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. My name is John Sparrow. I'm the lead pastor of Equippers Central Coast, and we're going to have a dialogue around the topic of mental health. I think it's really important to be talking about at the moment, and joining me is Ron Huxley. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, John, for having me here. It's a pleasure and honor. Yeah, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Been in the business for almost 30 years,
Wow.
and I have a practice here in Avila Beach. Most of my career I've always been in private practice working with families and children, but most of my career has been working with clinics, running clinics and operating clinics. But what I really found in working with them is that because so many of them are government run as far as funding, you really can't broach some of the faith-based topics that
Yeah.
I really thought were important to try to find true healing.
Yeah.
And what I found is I was helping a lot of people get sort of functional
Yeah.
in life, which is sort of the mental health standard in the world. But really, for us, we want to see people find real healing, not
Yeah.
just be functional.
Yeah.
So that requires us to be able to focus on the body,
Yeah.
the mind, and the spirit.
Yeah.
And so going back into full-time private practice really allowed me the opportunity to do that.
Amazing. Yeah, I found Ron the beginning of last year. I had recognized that I was in a pretty dark place. I showed up at Ron's office, and he said, "Well, I think we caught this, but looks like you're on the edge of a mental breakdown."
I'm not sure I diagnosed quite that way, but
Yeah, it's something
yeah.
of that effect. But I just found so much comfort in knowing that I wasn't alone in that.
Yeah.
That it's something that's a lot more prevalent than I think people are willing to admit. And I think right now, I called Ron the other day and just we started talking about having this conversation.
Yeah.
And because my immediate thought was like, man, this is the most mysterious moment I've ever lived in my
It
life.
is. Yeah.
It's so unpredictable. There's so much uncertainty. I personally have a daughter who's immunosuppressed, and it's one of my triggers for my mental health is concern there. So I said, man, there's probably a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
And so the question was, how do you manage mystery?
Yeah.
And what does that do to our psyche when there's so much unknown?
Yeah. Well, mystery or uncertainty, being ambiguous situations are always difficult. You know, in a spiritual level, you don't really manage mystery. Mystery, you're kind of let God sort of manages you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we all have to live with some sense of uncertainty and not knowing what's going on. And I think all of us, in the place maybe you were at, but other people are currently at, is how do you juggle all the pressures of the world and not know what the outcomes are going to be and deal with the fear that grips you during the day and keeps you awake at night and causes you to ruminate constantly on what's happening, and particularly when you have people that are under your care and responsibility who have compromised immune systems or health issues, whether it's young or old. That's scary for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, uncertainty can really affect us. We're wired for anxiety, and our bodies actually are primed to be sensitive to things that are out of the norm, because we like habitual responses. Our brain and nervous system likes habitual responses. We like things to be consistent and regular, and you can see this even with your kids. They like structure. They do better when they have structure. There's consistency going on. And when things aren't consistent, then behavior comes up, emotions come up, and meltdowns happen for adults too, right? And especially this day and age, a lot of meltdowns. A lot of people are suffering from all the economic and turmoil around the world. So, we're designed to look for uncertainty so we can manage it, so that we can deal with it and try to control it. The problem is sometimes it gets so big like it is right now that you can't be controlled. And when that happens, it overwhelms the nervous system. And that's where I would say that you have a traumatized response. That you've been traumatized or experiencing trauma is really an event that exceeds your ability of your nervous system to cope and manage with it. And that'll be different from person to person.
Yeah. So is that how you would define trauma?
Yeah, I think a simple way to define it is as an event that overwhelms your ability to cope. And we are certainly in that situation.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely describe this as that we are, as a planet, going through trauma.
Wow. It seems so surreal to hear something
It
like
does.
that as a planet, we're all accumulatively going through something like this. And so we can all agree that this is definitely mysterious. There's a lot of uncertainty. It is traumatic, for more than others, wherever they find themselves in the mix of all this and the moving pieces. And I personally, last Sunday at our small group, we had 2 nurses in our home, just in that small group of 10 people that are going to be faced with who knows what in the coming days and weeks. And then, there was also some small business owners, and they're losing their business. And, so the spectrum of the effect is huge. And so I think we can all agree we're somewhere in that of feeling the consequence of this, but knowing that we're facing some sort of trauma, what do we do with that?
Yeah, that's always the question. Like, how do you manage it? Well, because I try to make things as practical as possible for people, because people come to me and they're looking for answers, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't have the answers. What do I do? Fortunately, there's God, right? I don't know how people deal with any kind of trauma or crisis without God.
Yeah.
Because we would have no real hope.
Yeah.
And nothing will be very lasting.
That's so true.
To get you through the difficult moments in life and try to answer for suffering in general. Yeah. Really requires us to understand the nature of God and have Him in our life to help us through these things. But there's 3 main principles that I use for dealing with trauma, what I call my healing strategy. So the first strategy is that you have to calm down the brain and the body first. Most of the strategies we will try to use, and even traditional mental health, is we will use cognitive strategies. We'll talk it through. It's like me coming to you and you're in the middle of a meltdown, you're having a nervous breakdown, and I say to you, you just need to calm down. And you're like, well, I guess I should have thought of that, right? So that's not going to help anybody by telling them calm down when they're in the middle of a crisis. So cognitively, that can't be superior to the emotions that you're feeling. So we have to first learn strategies for how to calm down the nervous system. Once we do that, then the second healing strategy is then we have to build new skills. Because the skills that we had weren't up to the task of coping with the trauma. So now we can learn new skills. But learning can't take place until we've calmed down the brain and body. And then the third area is to really, once we calm down the brain and body, we're able to build some new skills. Then we look at deepening relationships. Wow. And and that's both across the board with friends and family and coworkers, but also with God, and trying to really connect on that deeper level. And open ourselves up.
So what does that look like in this context right now? Deepening relationship when we are sheltered in place.
So we're socially distant, but we should stay relationally close.
That's great.
Because the idea of social distance is really more about a medical safety issue. It's an unfortunate term, really, social, and it really affects people who are already lonely, who already feel isolated and cut off, who don't know how to reach across and get support and help. For them to be told you have to be socially distant just feels like a prison sentence. They just don't know what to deal with that. And if you're already dealing with traumas, or you have mental health issues, anxiety, depression, or other things, then this is going to just intensify stuff for you. But we want to make sure that even though we're socially distanced for health reasons, we are relationally close and want to try to work towards reaching out to other people. The nice thing about all of this, if there's any silver lining throughout the situation, is that I've seen across the board in all different industries, people looking at ways to help other people.
It's amazing.
And so the value of charity and kindness and gratitude and helpfulness, I think, has really intensified. I don't know what God's going to do with all of it. But I really feel like, and the church should be the first.
Totally.
Don't you think? I mean,
absolutely.
If we're the hands and feet, it's kind of like that's where we have to be first.
And the simple fact that we're made in the image of God. And God is by nature a giver. He's generous. It's His method. And so I think we're all kind of feeling the satisfaction of living in our true identity, when we tap into some of that charitable work and generosity. I think it's just a glimpse of God. So it's really refreshing.
Well, it's such a better contrast than what I think a lot of the world has seen about the church anyway, in terms of They just, hate mongers, or they just want to
Yeah.
argue, or
Yeah.
they want your money.
Yeah.
They're all, it's incorrect, but
Yeah.
that's
We can't pass the buckets right now.
bucket. Yeah. But there is this little app, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we solved that long ago.
Yeah.
But no, it's really like we really have nothing to hide behind.
Yeah.
And I think it's really beautiful at the moment. We can't hide behind our programs, our facilities, lights. We are behind cameras, but
You're right.
all the action that comes with it. Like we actually have to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like just Christian, non-Christian? I don't want to assume everybody watching this is a person of faith.
And that's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah,
you want to be able to reach out to anyone who wants to hear inspiring or be encouraged or needs hope for today.
Yeah.
But
what does that do when you're talking about charity, generosity in a person just for our own mental health?
Yeah.
What does that really do for somebody?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, the good news is that we've been studying this for quite some time.
Yeah.
And just a simple attitude of expressing gratitude can literally change the structure of the brain.
Wow.
And it can produce over time growth in the brain.
Wow.
It's just amazing how a brain is malleable. We call it neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
If the brain is able to mold and change, and if you think negative thoughts, you get negative outputs. If you think positive thoughts, you get positive outputs.
Wow.
So we can literally see people change their mood states, change their brain structures, overcome serious mental health conditions by focusing on gratitude.
Yeah.
And being able to think in a way that's positive. And God is positive.
Yeah.
Right? Hope in you and to its glory. So he's focusing on him, and what he's going to do will literally shift our nervous systems and our brain structures.
Wow. That's phenomenal. That's a very practical but profound way that we can improve our mental health, just in the way we think and what we set our, as Philippians 4, think about such things.
Right. And and now that scripture becomes more than a great verse to memorize.
Yeah.
It really hits home. It's kind of like, this is what I actually need to get through this day.
Yeah.
I actually need to be thinking about positive things because there is so much negativity going on out there.
Yeah.
This is the time of year that my wife and I go through a negativity fast.
That's amazing.
It's the time of Lent, and people are typically giving up one thing or another so they can focus more on their relationship with God and not make something their idol. And so I've been encouraging all the families that I'm working with that they will take a negativity fast.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so they will just give up negative thoughts, negative social media, negative news, negative way in which they interact with one another. And it sounds really sweet, but if you actually try it, it's hard.
It's so difficult.
Because you realize how much we are geared towards the negative.
Yeah, we feed off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just our constant diet.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that God is doing, is shifting us to begin looking at taking care of our mental health and not just our physical health.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much information on what's good physical health and what we should be eating and not be eating and how to take care of it. But we're still lagging on how to really take care of our mind.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if anyone's been on social media lately, there's a ton of like at-home workouts and a lot of physical health stuff.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, we do. But like, what would be your mental health regimen? Like some practical tips, some mental health workout plan.
Right.
That might help.
If we're dealing with anxiety, the very first thing you should do, even before you get out of bed in the morning, is to make a declaration for what you want to see God do for you in that day. In the mental health field, we often will say, well, how does that make you feel, John?
Yeah.
And which is really the worst thing to say. Because you wake up in the morning, and if you ask yourself, how do I feel today? You're like, I feel terrible. I haven't got out of bed, and I'm already exhausted.
Yeah.
Or I feel miserable, or I feel anxious, I feel depressed. The day seems gloomy. I'm going to have to deal with homeschooling with my kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to somehow try to be productive around all the noise. I'm going to...
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you already are going to feel defeated before you get going.
Yeah.
And that's because oftentimes we will base our mental health on our feeling states. Instead, God says, by faith, we're supposed to declare what we want to see happening throughout the day. And so the first regimen would be, what do I believe to be true about today? And you declare what you want to see occur. And when that happens, then your emotions come in underneath your belief statements, instead of your belief statements being controlled by your emotions.
Yeah.
So that's like your first focus for the day.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, say 9 o'clock rolls around.
Yeah.
Kids are up. Parents are expected to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
The house is noisy.
Mm-hmm.
Things are getting dirty, and you are naturally prone to anxiety already.
Yeah.
Are there things, intense moments that we can practice? And we can prep all we want, but in a moment, is there some things that you would recommend?
Prepping's always better because the more you're kind of prepared for the day.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we have the kids up and they're maybe fighting or arguing about something or wanting to be on screens right away. Yeah. And that's a predictable moment. Yeah. Right? Because we know that that's going to come up. Yeah. But somehow we wake up and we're surprised when we hear it and see it happen. Yeah. It happened yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. It's going to happen tomorrow and the day after that. Yeah. The day after that. And so we had to take some initiative to say, I know this is going to happen. So what am I going to do as an alternative to make something else occur? I think also having a structure through the day is still important. Yeah. That 9 o'clock we are going to have breakfast, not 10, maybe not 10:30. Yeah. So some form of structure that will allow, and kids again will work better in structure. Yeah. And parents work better if they have a structure that know they're working with. Mm-hmm. But when you're in the heat of the moment and you're really overwhelmed and you're totally exasperated, probably the simplest thing you can do, which is we all have to do, and that's just breathe. Yeah. And I know we say that a lot, just breathe, count to 10. Yeah. But the nervous system responds very quickly to breath. Breath is one of the ways the nervous system finds its rhythm. And we actually have within us a cranial nerve called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve literally means in Latin wandering, because it wanders through the body. Wow. It goes from the brainstem down through the spinal cord, and then has nerves that go out throughout the entire face, throat, the lungs, the heart, and then around our digestive organs. And the only area that has more nerve cells than the digestive organs itself is the brain. Wow. It's like it truly is our second brain. It's kind of our gut instinct. It's where we get our gut reactions to the thing. And so you can control this through simple breathing techniques. And there are a lot out there to breathe. There's 4-square breathing. There's the 4-7-8 breathing. There's 5-5-5. There's lots of ways that people do it. But for working with children, to start there, I have parents just do a simple little visualization with them where they're just smelling the flower, breathing in, and blowing out the candle. And so little tricks like that can get them to breathe. Or balloon breathing, like you pretend you're breathing into a balloon. Yeah. And then you let the air come back in. Yeah. And so parents can do it with the children, helping everyone sort of calm down that nervous system. I personally like 4-7-8, sometimes called conscious breathing. And it's simply breathing in for a 4 count. You hold that breath for a 7 count. And then you let it out for an 8 count.
4-7-8.
4-7-8. And the reason that you do that is you want to get as much oxygen into the body because the brain uses 20 to 30% of all the body's oxygen. Wow. And when you're in a heat of a moment, and things are going on, then your brain's going to shut down. Yeah. And you're just going to go react to things instead of respond. So we need as much oxygen as we can. Also, we have an 8, which is a very long exhale to release all the carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide isn't completely released out of our lungs, it gets reabsorbed into the body as cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Wow. And so we're actually increasing the problem. So when we're stressed, we're breathing hard or we're breathing in short little durations, or sometimes we're not breathing at all. We hold our breath. Yeah. So breathing is just a simple way, whatever the tool is, to help the body and the brain come back into balance. Wow. And that if you just you can practice that as many times as you want. You can go anywhere with that, right? You can do it any time of the day to help you maintain that lower equilibrium. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. One of the things beginning of last year when I was became aware of mental health and my need to get mentally healthy, routine was really important for me. Can you speak into that a little bit? You just mentioned a little bit routine for family, but what does that really do for us in the sense of security in uncertain times just by having some sort of routine?
If anything, it makes self-discipline and routine even more important. Yeah. But routine doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to crank out a 2-hour Bible study.
Yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
But sometimes it means I'm going to take 20 minutes, maybe with my coffee and my chamomile tea or whatever your preference, and I'm just going to be quiet.
Wow.
Be still and know the Lord.
Yeah.
And so in that quiet moment of rest, that brings a healthy rhythm to our day, because our day is going to be busy as it is.
Yeah.
And we need moments where we come in rest. And we don't realize that rest, truly from a spiritual angle, can be a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to really connect with heaven and allow God to work and fight on our behalf.
Yeah.
And to really speak to us in a way that, as sons and daughters, we need to hear from him.
Yeah.
Rather than just talking to him, asking him questions, we really need to stop and listen.
Yeah.
So I'd rather sometimes see people read one verse and just meditate on it for the entire time, to get as much out of that as they can.
Yeah.
To really feel like where's God leading? Because it's the uncertainty of the day, and that creates struggles for us and anxiety. Mm-hmm. So having an anchor throughout the day to fall back on that verse, and to gain strength from it again, will help us deal with that uncertainty.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really helpful, because I found sometimes, for people of faith that that can be a whole competition in itself with yourself.
Oh yeah.
It adds to the pressure sometimes of like how you need to perform for God, and the amount of time you spend in prayer and in devotion, and you didn't wake up early enough and you didn't fast long enough, like that can be a whole added pressure. So I love the simplicity of really making the point to rest with God in relationship with him.
Yeah. I mean, even myself, sometimes I'm, 1 minute in, if that long, and I'm checking FaceTime or I'm checking, Facebook or something, or I'm looking on my email, and it's like, why am I doing that? It's just a habitual, it's just a habit that I go through. Yeah. And I have to really be disciplined. Mm-hmm. And so I think, you were talking about how you shared with me how just putting away the phone. Yeah. Could be useful. And so maybe it's a time to just get our paper Bibles out. Yeah. And just leave the phones.
Yeah, totally. I think we had a little text back and forth the other day, and the point of now that our lives are so, even more so, technologically driven. Yeah. For me, for work now, I am in the people business, but now everyone's coming through the computer. So I'm on a computer from 9 to 5 on top of my normal social media, connecting with family, friends, like on top of that. So I think more than ever we need to be aware of like technology overload. And so maybe if we could talk about that a little bit. Yeah. I know that you exposed me to something called cultivate theory, and how kind of impressionable we are, and that's more specifically so for like social media and advertising. But can you explain that a little bit and how that affects us?
Yeah, it's a great metaphor to really look at, but cultivation theory basically says that, and when it was designed, when it was originated, it actually was about TV. They didn't really have the social media and all the internet that we have now, but it was really about what the exposure to constant television programs will do to us. Yeah. And so there was this idea before that you see something like an ad on television or some type of program, and you would be immediately changed by that. And the reality is it's much more gradual. It's as your constant exposure to media, over time it begins to shape and change your values so that you begin to conform to the world standards. Yeah. As it says in Romans, about being able to start thinking, and it's subtle, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. A little bit over time. So exposure to social media, to looking at memes, to checking your Facebook status.
Memes? That's the best thing that ever happened in this coronavirus.
I agree.
Pandemic.
There are some great ones. Yeah. I'll send you some. But
please do.
But over time, what it does is it can take the place of our ability to rest. Yeah. And to be able to feel a peace with ourselves, and we're not comfortable really being alone. Yeah. And just being with God and with our own thoughts. And so I would encourage people, put away the phones, bring out the Bibles, get your journal out.
Yeah.
Write your prayers out to God.
Yeah.
Write His responses back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do things, paper and pen, or pencil or crayon, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Get out art materials. Do things that are considered maybe old school, but really can have a calming effect.
Yeah.
On our bodies. They're kind of meditative in a way.
Yeah.
When we engage in those things.
Yeah, and some of those things feel like such upstream practices because obviously if I type, it's a lot faster. Yeah. Or if my
handwriting's terrible.
Yeah. Handwriting's terrible. If I watch something, I can retain information much quicker and more effectively.
Sure.
But I think it's really important to recognize some of those upstream practices, meaning maybe the anti-convenience methods sometimes in moments like this, because there's something that we can gain from taking longer. So the longer road is often better when it comes to our rest. And I'm reading a book currently called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It's by John Mark Comer. And it's the statistics are scary. They're staggering. Now, our attention span's at 8 seconds. A goldfish is 9 seconds. Yeah. And a lot of this is from this cultivation theory, we're being shaped, and the things that are vying for our attention at all times are dangerous. And I think on average we look at our phone screens 2,064 times a day. I think that's the average, how many times we just peek at. So it's constant attention. So I think the more we can recognize things that seem a bit more difficult in the moment, to just write slowly, read paper, dialogue in the home with family, and put the phones away. I think those are really healthy for us.
Yeah, parents could just have a simple rule that at a certain time phones get put all in a basket, and we'll get them later. Yeah. So I used to have this rule I really express to families that you should just eliminate the screens all through the week, and just on the weekends they can have a few hours here and there. Then what happened is that the children kept bugging them and nagging them for the screens, or when they did get the screens, they didn't want to get off. Yeah. And they could go even in rages afterwards. And so I began to rethink how this is going to really work. And I realized that screens and social media, all that's just tools. Yeah. That's how they were designed, but they become much more. Become kind of icons or idols even. And so now, a lot of times I will tell parents, the best thing you can do with the screen is when you need to make dinner and you can't be there to entertain the children, say you can have a screen for this hour while I'm making dinner or doing the laundry or something. Or I got to go online and have a meeting. Yeah. Because it will benefit you. And what that does is then allows you, when you're done doing those tasks, you're the most important entertainment with those children, and not the screens. Yeah. Otherwise, you're competing for that time and attention, for that mind space, if you will. Yeah. To be able to grab. So use them more selfishly. Yeah. In a way that kind of helps you to do, especially when you're at home right now trying to get work done. That might be a great way to plug it into the day. Yeah. These are the times when I'm going to work and you're going to get the chance to do this. Yeah. You can have educational programs. Yeah. Appropriate games, and you can have some monitoring of what goes on. But I think you can maybe utilize it in a way that serves the parents and the children. Yeah, totally. And then you can be really present when you need to be. Yeah, and then fully the distraction of screens. Thinking about the meetings I got to get to, or the email I've got to write, because you've written it already, so it's already done. Amazing. That's helpful. Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah. Cool. So in as a way forward, I guess, for people in wherever they find themselves, we don't know, is this thing going to get worse? Are we on the other side of this? Or is the economy going to tank even more? Are we is Jesus coming back tomorrow? I don't know. You can only hope. Yeah. What are, for you personally, what's like a scripture or a place you go with God, if you don't mind sharing? Yeah, no, I don't mind at all. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I think right now I've seen a lot of Psalms 91 being out there. Yeah. I think that's a great verse for this time. I love Isaiah 35. I think it's 4, where Isaiah says, "Fear not." Yeah. And I think that's kind of a rally cry for us right now. Fear not. But the one I've really been focusing a lot, particularly around dealing with mystery and uncertainty, and where the future is going to go, what's going to happen to the economy, etc., has really been looking at Psalms, I think it's 119, 15, which is, your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path.
Yeah.
And I think what that says to me is that we love the light unto the path.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
I love God shining out where I'm going to go, where my next steps are going to be, because that gives me a sense of purpose and destiny, and I can put my energy into that. But sometimes he is a light unto our feet, and we can't see beyond the next step like we are right now. I think the beauty of that, and in my meditations, what I'm really hearing God say is, I need you to look up and look at the lamp holder.
Yeah.
Because in order for the light to be at my feet, he has to be close to me.
Wow.
And when I do that, then I can look up and then I see his face illuminated. And I realize, okay, I don't know what the path looks like, or the path I thought is no longer there.
Yeah.
So I just have to keep looking into his face and getting my step-by-step guidance from him.
Wow.
And so, and that's hard. I know on a day-to-day practical level, you're still going to feel the anxiety. I feel the anxiety, but I keep reminding to bring my eyes up, focus on the word that's being illuminated, and keep my eyes locked there.
It's so good. Love that. Don't know what the future holds, but we know who holds it.
Exactly.
But hey, thank you so much for your time and just being willing to have the conversation. And you've really helped me in a huge way over the past year or so, whether you realize that or not. I think that was really a catalyst for change for me, and I know for so many other people, and I think this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much.
That's the point. We'll help as many people as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. And I look forward to talking more.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for watching, and keep an eye out for some more content coming out as well. Love you guys. See ya.